Hello, it's Emmy the Cat Lady here with another vault to talk about. So, you find Vault 118 in Far Harbour hidden beneath the Cliff's Edge Hotel. So this is where we are right now. I'll show you the map location. So that's Far Harbour itself, Longfellow's cabin. So it's directly north of the National Park campground and just kind of southeast of the National Park Visitor Centre. We've got the Cliff's Edge Hotel here. So you can see there's the big elevator similar to the one that we used to get into Vault 111, but you can't use this anymore, so we have to go in via the hotel. So Vault 118 was a vault that was never ever completed. Oh, there's ghouls. So the vault was never completed, and we'll get into the exact reason for that. Okay, so we've got this terminal here at the sort of reception desk of the hotel, so we can have a wee look at that. So construction of the second wing of the premier area of the vault, the hotel, is still underway. Apologise to patrons about the noise and construction equipment. If necessary, a complimentary meal from the Skyview restaurant can be authorised by a supervisor. So visitor check-in is all corrupt, it can't contact the server. Premier visitor instructions. So, upon arrival, all bags and other luggage should be collected from Premier visitors and their every request catered to, assuming they have reservations made in advance. Check into a suite will be done after entering the vault. A concierge should be assigned to assist the visitor and guide them to the basement. Passwords are not required to contact receptionist Maxwell, but are encouraged to play up the speakeasy fuel for the patrons' amusement. So, the Premier visitors are basically the people that are going to be in the vault. And then we've got oh no, hang on. Come on, computer, behave yourself. Reservations is corrupted. Local attractions. So we can get some details about places to visit. So Acadia National Park, the Observatory, Aldersea Day Spa and the Vim Pop Factory. So I think that just gives you location markers for all these places. So we have to get down to the basement, so bear with me, I'll bring you back once I remember where it is and find my way down there. Okay, so after a lot of walking around, there is a lot of feral ghouls in this place, so be careful. And because I'm quite high level, so are they. But you have to go kind of up and around the outside of the hotel to find your way to the other side to get down the stairs. So you have to go kind of up and across and then down until we get to here. So this was all kind of blocked off from the other side of the hotel. So make your way through the ghouls and everything, and there's some turrets here as well. Yeah, it turns out it's this elevator here. Hey, finally. That was the longest elevator ride in the history of elevators. But yes, we're now in a, I guess, sub-basement. With the length of that elevator ride, we're probably pretty close to the centre of the earth at this point. But yeah, come down here, this is like the hotel laundry facility and stuff. Yeah. But if we go through here, we have Vault. So, what's the story about Vault 118? So, the Vault here was basically advertised as a ultra elite hotel. So they wanted to attract people that had status and a lot of money. So everything was supposed to be really, really fancy. And every desire would be catered to by some robots. So let's have a chat to this guy. So here we are in Vault 118. Hello, Maxwell. Okay. So yeah, Maxwell, and there's basically robot butlers everywhere, but you can see immediately the difference, you know, the decor, that we've got these nice leather couches and fancy chairs and everything. All the walls are kind of wood panelling and stuff. So, you know, and we've got this like reception desk and key hooks and things. So it's made to look like a hotel, and it's made to look like a fancy hotel. Yeah, we'll go back to this section. So basically, it was supposed to be advertised a bit like what Vault 114 was, that, you know, it was going to be really nice and really fancy. They were going to have everything that they wanted, and it was going to be fabulous. And unlike Vault 114, this vault is absolutely designed that way. I mean, you can see just we've got decanters, we've got fancy chairs, books and things in this vault. And we can go into the residential area, which again, you know, we've got wallpaper. That's the art studio plus reactor for this guy. So essentially, once the nice fancy part of the vault was completed, suddenly the money ran out, the funding for this. So the experiment was to be that there was going to be a group of about 10 ultra elite residents. So these were people that were influential, people that were wealthy, and then the other half of the vault was going to be cramped and horrible, like Vault 114, where people were going to be stuck in really cramped conditions and really horrible conditions, and the sort of elite rich people would basically be in charge of everything and could do as they saw fit. So they wanted to see how people were going to respond to living under those conditions. However, once the fancy part of the vault, this wing of the vault, was completed, the money dried up. So we can find out exactly how that happened. We've got a hydroponics lab here, and there's Mr. Handy concierges everywhere. But yeah, if we go this way, we'll go to the overseer. So you can see this part of the vault is really not very well maintained. It's all rusty and things compared to the nice bit that we just walked through. Basically what happened was the key financier, which is who's Ezra Parker, was embezzling money from the vault construction and basically closed it off so that it would be just all the elite people and none of the other people would be allowed in. So when the fancy people kind of moved into the vault, Dr. Riggs, who we'll go and see in a minute, he convinced the other residents that their best bet to survive the bombs and things was to basically have their brains put into robo-brains, and Dr. Riggs was robotics. That was what he did. So that was what happened with these wealthy people, so that's why they're still around. And then when the vault was sealed, there's nothing in place for the other half of the vault, the people that were kind of working class locals that were supposed to get in. So the only human that was left was the overseer, and as you can see, he didn't make it, so his skeleton's kind of slumped over his desk. But we can have a look at his terminal to see the instructions. So Vault 118 is designed to test the social interactions between the working class and the ultra-wealthy when under confined conditions. Working in conjunction with staff from the Cliff's Edge Hotel, this vault shall function as a luxury hotel to attract the necessary testing subjects. Upon beginning the test, additional subjects shall be admitted from the local population into a second, much inferior wing of the vault. So that was the instructions, and then we've got the protocol manual. There we go. So prior to experiment activation, Vault 118 shall function as an ultra-elite hotel to attract test subjects of appropriate wealth and status. This shall be operated as clandestine area of the hotel to ensure that individuals drawn to privilege and exclusivity are present. Upon activation notice from Vault-Tec, the secondary wing of the vault should be made open to the public and selected from the local working class population. These subjects are to be taken through the exclusive areas of the vault on entry, but thereafter confined to the cramped second wing. So the kind of lower class, in inverted commas, group of the vault dwellers were to see the fancy parts of the vault, but then they wouldn't be allowed to go back to that, and they had to stay in the cramped second wing where the conditions were much, much worse. But so they would know that there was this nice fancy part, but they wouldn't be allowed to go into it. Then once residents have been admitted, the vault is to be sealed until test results can be determined. So the vault was supposed to just continue until Vault-Tec were happy with the results. So preferential treatment. So test group A, ultra elite. This subject group, not to number more than 10, shall have their every desire tended to by robotic staff. To the extent that is possible, they are considered to be above all legal restrictions when interacting with test group B. So above all legal restrictions, so they could do whatever they wanted and there was no legal pushback. And then test group B, the working class. This subject group should begin numbering 300 and shall be restricted to the second wing of the vault. Measures should be taken to ensure that living conditions are uncomfortable and cramped. Food and other rations are to be extremely limited, and any breach of rules are to be judged by test group A and enacted by robotic staff members. So that was kind of the plan, and pretty unpleasant really. Then staff duties. Due to the potential for extreme social interactions, Vault-Tec staff shall be restricted to the overseer and key research members. All other security, services and maintenance positions shall be filled by robotic staff to ensure safety and test compliance. So they didn't actually have any human security staff. It was all done via the robots. But that obviously didn't happen because the wing of the second wing of the vault was never finished, and it was blocked by Ezra Parker. So let's head back downstairs to the nice part of the vault. Down here, oh, this is just a kitchen. So yeah, you come here and we've got this lovely like theatre set up with, again, fancy tables and chairs, flowers, and then there's this with blood. So the quest, the quest that brings you here, it's already been completed in this save file, but is a murder mystery, and it's quite a fun little quest, so I don't want to kind of go into too much detail. It's a fun one to explore, but basically one of the robo-brains has been horribly murdered. There's also mysterious bloodstains, and you have to investigate and question everybody to solve the mystery, which is really good fun. And there is a tape, so bear with me while I find
Progress on construction of the second wing of the vault is completely stalled. Once the premier area of the vault had been completed, funding seems to have been cut off. My supervisors have informed me that they haven't received payment from Mr. Parker, and Vault-Tec won't pay out of pocket to continue construction. I've repeatedly approached Ezra about the finances, but he keeps telling me that Mrs. Riggs hasn't transferred the funds. However, when I asked her, Juliana said that she had just given Ezra extra for the gold paint in the rooms. I've hired an investigator to look for signs of embezzlement in a few weeks.
There we go. So essentially, Ezra Parker, who was the main financier of this hotel and this project, was embezzling the funds, and that's why the other half of the vault didn't get completed. And then they all decided to put themselves into robo-brains instead. So that is something that is important for investigating the murder mystery of Ezra Parker. And we've got showers here, which probably don't get used much considering that they're all robo-brains, but there's even, it's quite fun, there's actually a little beach with some sand, some water, some pretend sun, and then there's this lady. So yeah, so you basically can end up here hired as a detective. So this is Gilda Brosco. She's a famous actress, so she's got this set up, and we did pass by. We'll go back to see what's his name, Santiago. Is that in this room here? Yeah, so this is Santiago Avida, and he is an artist, so he's basically firing paintballs at canvas to make paintings, and claims to be the creator behind all of these kitten and cat paintings that you see all over the place. Is apparently all his work. But yeah, I say I don't want to kind of go in too much to the actual murder mystery part of this vault, because it's a fun little side quest, very much like your kind of classic detective, and you've got to figure out what happened, and then you accuse them and they're all gathered together and stuff like that. So it's quite a fun little quest. I'll maybe cover the quest itself at some point. But this vault in particular, the experiment that was intended was pretty horrible, really. So, it's really just trying to induce a massive class war. You've got these elite wealthy people who basically have full control over the lives of a bunch of less wealthy people who have walked through this really nice, really fancy looking vault to be left in horrible, horrible conditions elsewhere, knowing that things are better. So there's Juliana Riggs there, and there's more kitten paintings and things. So it's very interesting little side quest. So I'm not gonna kind of give away too much of that, but it's good to see that there is something. Yeah, let's see, you've even got a fountain here. And more residential suites, and again just all the different wallpaper, and there's lion statues, and there's a museum. So this shovel was used to break ground for the Cardoza Medical Research Centre in Venezuela. The funding and management was overseen by Mr. Ezra Parker. Let's see, we've got some weapons, some paintings, creepy mannequin, some skulls, pygmy skulls from the Abadubo tribe from the Congo, presented to Mr. Ezra Parker, and thanks for saving the tribe from a man-eating tiger while on safari. Whether any of these claims are true or not remains to be seen. What else have we got? Crystal decanter presented to Dame Petra Horvath at her engagement party. She died in a tragic car accident a month before she and Mr. Parker were to be wed. Okay. Grave pocket watch awarded to Mr. Parker in 2075. List of top up-and-coming venture capital managers. In June of 2072, Mr. Ezra Parker prevented the assassination of Viscount Sergei Urbonas by diving between him and the shooter. This silver locket kept in his breast pocket deflected the bullet and saved his life. So, it's basically Ezra Parker has built a museum to himself. Obviously this was a bit of a vanity project for him. Bobby pins, yes. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We can, I believe, go to the other half of the vault that's a bit more run down. Yeah, we've got some hydroponics, so they're still growing food even though there's not really anybody that eats food because they're all robo-brains now, but Yep, exit's on, so we'll go back through here. And yeah, you can come out. There's actually a parking garage full of cars and an elevator for said cars as well. And then yeah, this is the kind of construction zone for the part of the vault that never got finished. So you can kind of get into it, but you can't really get too far. So yeah, there's the wall that blocks off the nice vault from the crap vault, which is where we are. So obviously still forever under construction because they were never intending to finish it. Thanks to Mr. Parker's involvement. But yeah, so there's obviously space for the wealthy folk to keep their fancy cars as well to protect them, which doesn't really work very well. The cars are all wrecked, but you know, cars don't get used, they fall apart. But it's a horrible experiment, and again it's kind of similar to the experiment that was planned for Vault 114, which again was another vault that was never finished, where they were gonna basically advertise it as being really nice and fancy and everything that they could possibly want would be provided, to then find that they were, you know, hot bunking and had communal showers and toilets that just had curtains and things instead of actual, you know, nice bathrooms and that kind of thing. Oh, there's Bert Riggs, yeah, so he's the guy that suggested that everybody go into RoboBrains. That's him there. And obviously it's pushing that like class divide, and you know, in Vault 114 the idea was that they would have all these wealthy people who were used to, you know, living a comfortable life and making them extremely uncomfortable, and then putting a sort of crazy homeless man that refuses to wear pants in charge of everything, and they had no say in things. So, you know, a similar kind of idea here, that, you know, we were going to have these ultra wealthy people, and then they were going to be in charge of this group of working class people who could see that there was much nicer places to stay in the vault than what they were provided, and they weren't allowed to kind of partake. So I think the results of that would have been quite interesting, but it didn't happen because Ezra Parker was embezzling funds, and that prevented the other half of the vault being completed. So unfortunately the overseer was the only kind of living human, and he's long dead. So the RoboBrains are just here. Keith McKinney, so he's an actor as well, I believe. Yeah, there's a poster for one of his movies. So, you know, it's really quite an interesting thing, and it's something that, you know, it's always a kind of hot topic, I think, the whole kind of class divide, and, you know, the wealthy elite versus the people that are kind of on the ground and working and that kind of a thing. And it's something that evokes strong emotions in people, and I don't want to kind of get into politics and things, because it's, you know, it's a complicated thing, and it's something that, you know, different people have different views based on their experiences and things like that. And I think that there can be a real lack of understanding sometimes on how difficult life can be when you're in a situation. You know, for me personally, I went from a well-paid job. Obviously I was a veterinarian, I'm a veterinary surgeon, and, you know, we don't make as much money as some people seem to think we make, but, you know, it was enough for me to be able to buy a house and to, you know, live a comfortable life. But when my health deteriorated, suddenly that was all taken away, and that, you know, it's been quite a difficult thing. All the money that I had saved up had to be used for covering expenses and things, and I'm still kind of dealing with the fallout from that. And it's something that, you know, I'm fortunate, and I know I'm fortunate that I've got support from family and friends to kind of deal with the situation that I've been put in, and at least I've found a couple of things that I think are worthwhile doing, like making content for you guys, and I'm writing my books and things. So, you know, I'm at least finding something constructive to do with my time. But You know, it's something that's still really topical and unfortunately very political. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, keep politics out of video games, keep politics out of books, keep politics out of this, that, and the other. But the thing is, politics affects everything in everybody's lives, and you know, it's something that everybody is kind of has a right to talk about if they wish. But I say I don't want to get too much into kind of politics or my personal political beliefs. You know, I'm kind of entitled to have my own viewpoint on these things, as everyone else is. But I think this has been interesting, and it would have been interesting to see what would have happened had the vault actually ended up as it was supposed to, with the 300 people that were living in really crap conditions. Were they going to, you know, basically take over the vault and insist that they get to share in all the nice stuff as well? Would there have been a revolt? It would have been interesting to see, but because of, you know, greed on Ezra Parker's part, he was more interested in trying to make as much money for himself as possible. So that's how this vault ended up the way it is. But it does at least provide a fun little quest for the, you know, kind of solving a murder mystery. It's quite fun. It's a bit silly, a bit wacky, but highly entertaining. And especially if you're interviewing all the robo-brains and talking to them, and you can uncover the mystery and figure out who actually killed who and what actually happened. But I don't want to kind of spoil the ending for that in this video. In case you haven't played it and you haven't visited this vault, you do get an option for the quest. If you go to Far Harbour, there is, I think that was her there actually. Yep. Is that you? Pearl, yeah.
Did you need something, detective?
Yeah.
Need to restock on hunting or fishing supplies?
Not just now.
I don't think so.
So, yep, this is Pearl. So, often during the course of Far Harbour, you'll meet her at Far Harbour at the place where everybody is. And she'll say that she's looking for a detective, so you can convince her that you're a detective, which is a bit easier if you've got Nick Valentine with you. And then she'll bring you here, and you have to solve the murder of Ezra Parker and figure out what happened. And it's quite a fun little detective quest. It's quite entertaining, so I would recommend checking it out for yourself. But Vault 118, the experiment that was planned was pretty horrific, and the fact that it didn't happen is probably a net good, even if it does result in these you know, insane robo-brains that are but they're kind of locked away in their vault, so they can't really cause too much trouble for people on the surface either. So there we go. So that's the story of Vault 118, a horrific experiment that was blocked because of continued greed, where one man decided that he wanted to hoard all the wealth and started embezzling money from the project, and thus prevented the full extent of the horrible experiment that was planned in Vault 118. So hopefully you found this interesting, and I would highly recommend, if you haven't gone through Far Harbour yet, Far Harbour itself is a really good DLC for Fallout 4. I think it's a really, really interesting new environment, but would highly recommend checking out the quest. It's called Brain Dead. And I say you can start it by finding the vault, or you can start it by seeing Pearl, the Miss Nanny, at Far Harbour, and she's out looking for a detective, so you can then volunteer your services and come and investigate the murder mystery. So if you haven't ever done it before and you've got Far Harbour, would definitely recommend checking it out. And let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously, there is some potential talk about politics and things that potentially is quite relevant today, so I would ask that, you know, if you're going to discuss that kind of thing in the comments, that we keep it on topic and we keep it polite and respectful, and understand that, you know, people can have differences based on their experience, but any real nastiness will get deleted and blocked. So just try and keep it respectful and reasonable in the comments if you want to talk about that kind of stuff. But I do like hearing your thoughts. Really grateful for all the kind of support for the channel and things, and I'll be back in a couple of days with more interesting content for you. So I will see you next time. Bye.